Where do you guys think this Saracens team ranks against like the great Leicester teams that dominated the Premiership and the Wasps side that won 4 titles in 6 years?
Well, again, like Goody said, because the game has just been, it's obviously fresh in our mind, but I'd still say Saracens. I think you look at the modern day game and you look at the Saracens consistently this season, the past few seasons. Goody mentioned the final that they lost against Northampton. They then went on to lose against Toulon, and that was the turning point. They also went out and got the checkbook out and signed a couple of key marquee players.
Who? Not you, Jim.
After that, and they've been unstoppable since, haven't they? And you look at this season again, we're going to reiterate it and talk about it again if people haven't been listening up till now. You know, the women's won the Tyrrell 15. The young lads have won the A-League title, the Sevens. It's relentless, the momentum of the club that they've got going on. And again, the way that the game is now is very different when Leicester were in that kind of almost like amateurish, just turned professional, to where the game is now. And you're having to manage how physical everything is. And yeah, I just think that the way that they conduct themselves as a whole, I'd have to say Saracens, but I'm going to be slightly biased.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at 3 teams that have dominated 3 different eras, aren't you? Yeah, the Leicester era was from 1998 to 2002. They won 2 doubles, which is what Saracens have done. The double, obviously, winning the Premiership and the Champions Cup in the same year. Saracens have now done that twice. The Saracens have now won 3 Champions Cups, where Leicester only won 2. You know, the era of Leicester's dominance, which I was very privileged to be a part of, didn't do much, but I was there. We had a phenomenal team, and we dominated. And then we got towards the end. Jono retires, Backy retires, Garforth retires. These sort of boys. The era comes to an end. Roundtree's gone. Wasps dominate for a few years.
I forget Wasps dominated.
Yeah,
you know.
They absolutely dominate. When it first moved, and let's not forget, the reason, and it's going back to what Jim said earlier, the reason we're now having Premiership semi-finals and finals is due to Leicester's dominance back in from 98 to 2002, because we'd won the league by March. This Saracens team now, the scary thing for me is what they've achieved so far. There ain't many of those players that are looking at retirement now, is there, in that squad? No. Their age profile of that squad is unbelievable. How many players over? The only one you're looking at in that squad now that's starting in their starting 15, their starting 15 has picked itself, hasn't it? Anyone that's got any age on them is Brad Barrett.
Yeah.
And they've signed, by the way, they've signed Elliot Daly, and they've got Tompkins, and they've got Lazowski off the back of that. So they could dominate, I reckon, for another 5 years. Anyone, and I've said it before, anyone around the world that's playing rugby that says they wouldn't want to be part of that is a liar.
Yeah, and the only reason I have sympathy with the salary cap thing with them is that a lot of their players are homegrown. So you shouldn't be, like, if you create, I don't know how many of their British and Irish Lions are from their academy, but say you create 5 or 6 British and Irish Lions, you're going to have a big wage bill.
Yeah.
So do you want to have a scenario where you're, do England want a scenario where Saracens are creating these fantastic players and can't afford to keep them? You don't want that.
No.
Yeah, but the thing is with them players as well, and it's like we've spoken about it before, let's just pluck a number out. Say Jamie George is on £500,000 a year.
Rightly so.
Let's say that at all. But,
and 3 houses.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. But for him, and a physio clinic, I buy one in. But even for him to be picked up by another team. So there's talk of Alan Wynne-Jones, right, going to Leicester. Now, if Leicester's academy had worked like Saracens have in recent years, they're not needing to go out there and look for a second row. Who's Alan Wynne-Jones, a phenomenal player. We know that. Back end of his career, $600,000. If they've got a player coming through a system, a George Cruz, let's just use a few numbers, $350,000.
He's on more than you were, mate.
What was he? 600 then. He's on 600. Let's say Cruz was on $400,000, right? If he was to go to Leicester, they'd have to pay him 700 to get him there, wouldn't they? So I get this wage, I get the salary cap and stuff like that, and I don't know. I'm guilty as charged because, like I've always said, you want the best, you sign the best.
You got a 1-bedroom house in Luton.
Exactly. So the academy you mentioned there is frightening. The number of players that have come through the academy now, and the number. I spoke to Kelly Brown on the phone today, and the players that are coming through. I just don't know. Like, I was just thinking to myself, then I was going to ask a ridiculous question. It works in cycles. We mentioned Leicester. We mentioned Wasps. It's now Saracens' turn. Okay, and you can throw Exeter in that, and there is a big gulf between the top 2 teams. Who's the next team? Like, where's the next team coming through? I literally, I don't know. In terms of the academy system working, I don't know.